had another friend that wanted to learn more about how I investigate. So he wanted to go with me on a couple investigations, and he had questions about how I do things, and he just wanted to try them out for himself. So we decided one night that we were going to go to a famous hotel and just ask if we could walk around. And it just so happened that when I went in, we went to the desk and asked the person behind the desk if we could just walk around. And this person said, "Do you know the story to room number so-and-so?" And I said, "No, I don't. I just want to walk around." And he said, "Well, nobody's in this room." And he looked over at the other girl at the counter. He said, "Hey, get the keys to this room. Take them up there." I said, "Okay." So there's also a restaurant in this hotel, and there was a girl from the restaurant that was over there, and she wanted to go up as well. Well, I found out that the guy I originally talked to was actually the owner of the hotel, and he was allowing me to go up. And which I told him initially, I said, "I'm sure you get this a lot, but I'm a paranormal investigator, and I just want to look around." But anyway, the desk person got the key, and the restaurant girl wanted to go up with us. So we're walking up, and she asked me again. She said, "Do you know the story of this room?" And I said, "No, but don't tell me because I'm going to tell you." And the two girls looked at each other and kind of gave a whatever look and was like, "Okay, whatever." So we got up there and we got into the room. We're standing there, and there was no presence. There was no energy that was currently there, but the residual was there. And I looked around the room, and the bed in this room had an extremely tall headboard, and it was leaned out a little bit. And that caught my attention. I put out my feelers, and I sat there and investigated for a second. And then I looked at the desk clerk and I said, "Hey, there's nothing in here right now. There's nothing with us, and there's not gonna be." I said, "There's 4 of us standing here. We each have a cell phone in our pocket. You've got that lamp on. There's way too much energy right now for something to show up. To feel anyway." And I said, "But the residual energy tells me that whatever is haunting this room has to do with this bed and that headboard." And she and the restaurant girl looked at each other and had a wow look on their face. And she said, "Okay, so can I tell you?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead." And she said, "This bed was actually in a different room, and that room was haunted." And she said, "We did a little changing up. We moved that bed down here, and now this room is haunted." And she said the story behind that bed is there was a girl that was in love with this guy, and I don't remember if they were supposed to be married or what, but she was in love with this guy, and something happened, and they couldn't be together. And she ended up hanging herself from the headboard of this bed. And that's where the connection was. So Dalton and I left the hotel, and we got in the car and we were headed back toward our hometown. And I was telling him how great a confirmation feels. And there's really nothing like it. Once you get that confirmation, you know that everything you're feeling is right, everything you're hearing is right, everything you're seeing. So there's this road that's a legend in that area, and I'm sure, as I recall, there's several of them around the country, and they're almost all called Stagecoach Road. And this was between there and home. And so we went down this road, and nothing happened. We didn't feel anything, didn't see anything. So we wanted to keep talking. So on the way home, we stopped at another cemetery. And I was a little leery because of the last cemetery trip, wide open. I wasn't sure if I should just stop with just me and him there. The hotel was a different story. This cemetery is a remote setting, and we're outside of the car. I don't know if that made a difference or not, but stopping at this cemetery was gonna feel different. But I told Dalton, I said, well, can't live my life scared, you know? So we stopped at this cemetery. We got out of the car and we just walked to the gate. We didn't go inside. We're standing at the gate. And I felt a spirit. And it was a early 20s female. And I knew I felt it, so I asked Dalton if he could feel anything. And it was the same with, like, when we were talking to Kaylee. If it's there, I know it's there. And if it's there, he should feel it. So I asked him if he felt anything. And he stood there trying to get a grasp on how to feel. And explaining how to feel is a very hard conversation, because there's no way to explain how to feel for things. So he was trying to figure out how to feel. And he said, I think I might feel something. And I said, is it male or female? And he said, how do you tell? And I don't know. I don't know how you tell. You just know. It's something you just understand. And while he was standing there feeling, I felt that entity that threatened me. I felt him show up, and he was on the opposite side of the cemetery, in the woods on the other side. And I stood there thinking, oh man, he showed up. And I've got Dalton here with me. What do I do? So I just stood completely still. And I didn't want to bring it up, but I felt like I needed to. And I told him that this thing was there. And in this moment, I didn't really want to take the time to explain how to feel an entity and how to tell the difference between an entity and a ghost. So I explained to him where this thing was at and what it was doing. And this thing wasn't talking, which concerned me, because he sure had something to say the last time he saw me. And he started basically, what a human would be doing is called pacing. He was pacing the woods on the other side like he was mad. And then I realized something that Don and Gail had told me years and years ago was it takes negative to invite negative. And that means that negative can be anything negative in your body, any negative energy that's exerted from your body. If you're hungry, your body is telling your brain that something's wrong and you need to feed it. If you're tired, your brain is telling you you've got to rest. Something's wrong. You got to recharge. Anything negative. And one of the biggest negative invitations you can give negative is fear. And that's why a lot of entities play on fear, because they feed it to you to try to get you to invite them in. When that fear hits you, that is an invitation. And in this moment, standing outside that gate, I knew that I had to stay calm. I had to quell the fear. There was no sadness, there was no anger, there was no hunger. We ate before we went to the hotel. There was no fatigue. Everything was lined up where there was no negativity. We weren't even inside the cemetery, which in itself was positive because we didn't cross that barrier in a time in the middle of the night where it seemed wrong and we felt like we're doing something wrong by essentially trespassing. There was no negativity. And this thing was mad. And it was getting madder by the second. The longer we stood at that gate was no negativity inviting it. It was a deafening anger that he had on the other side of this cemetery, just moving back and forth in the woods, waiting for us to invite it.